how we scaled an Amazon FBA offer from $80K a month to $500,000 a month. And I'm joined with my business partner, Jared, and we're going to showcase the entire process of how we made this possible. If I just show you guys the Instagram page, the Zab twins, they run an Amazon FBA offer. Let's just quickly play the testimonial.
Eric, I am one of the co-owners of the FBA startup, coaching and education company that teaches people how to sell on Amazon. I got to give a big shout out to Jared. Jared has been an immense amount of value to our team. He came in basically not knowing exactly what we did, but was able to find a lot of different holes in the business, our sales operations side of things, on how to make things more efficiently. He was the reason why we built out our phone setting team. He helped hire people. He helped build everything behind the scenes. What I love most about working with Jared is that he has incredible ideas, but not just that, he executes on those ideas as well. And he's always coming to the team with new ideas on how to make things more efficient. And for me as an operator, being able to be more operationally efficient, he basically showed us exactly what we needed to do to plug all the holes in the leaky bucket that we had. We had some of our biggest months with Jared for that exact reason. And now we have a phone setting team that we don't have to rely on ads on. But not just that, we have a sound sales operation that allows us to really make sure that we're making the most with every single lead, calling each and every lead, making sure that we have that. One of the biggest things, if not the best thing that he actually helped us implement was actually an AI bot. They actually came in and basically started talking to all of our leads, helped us re-engage with past leads that we thought were dead. We're definitely not dead. And now we catch people either through a phone setter or through that chatbot. So been a massive help. He showed us a lot of opportunity that we didn't think was possible. And now our ROAS has certainly increased, but more so being operationally efficient, knowing exactly where our leads are going and making sure that things are being taken care of. Big shout out to Jared. Appreciate you, man. And thank you so much.
The first thing we did was a business order. And these were some of the things we found. There was 100+ untouched leads a day, which if you do the numbers, that's $3 million in lost opportunity a year. They had no pipeline management. They had no setter team in place, and the follow-up process was manual.
So the follow-up process was completely manual. So they had to do all the touch points. They had to manually reach out. They had to track it when leads were reaching back out to them. And oftentimes they were too slow getting back into contact. So then it would take multiple days to even have a conversation instead of with what we'll find out to be was with an AI. We were able to have conversations immediately. And within those couple of days, we were already having a conversation on the phone instead of still trying to book a call.
And how long have they been dealing with this problem? They were doing around $500,000 a month in January. Then they happened to lose their sales team just because there was not enough qualified prospects in their pipeline. So their entire offer dropped to $80K a month in April, just 4 months later, which was then when Jared got introduced to the Zab twins. Then 3 months, Jared got them back to $500,000 a month. And to give you guys some more insight on how they actually lost their sales team and why this happened, I'm going to have Jared explain why.
Yeah, so basically they didn't have enough qualified appointments on the calendar. They weren't showing up. And with that process, just not did they lose their sales team, but a lot of their sales teams were actually friends. And so it did end up hurting some of their relationship. And over the time period from January to April, it was just a slow demise of their entire company, which we'll get into on how that really affected the company in the next coming segments.
And the cost of not solving these problems was that they had to, unfortunately, close down their other businesses, right? They spent $150,000 for a complete new CRM that they never got. I want to ask Jared why. What kind of CRM was that they paid for, and why didn't they receive it?
Yeah, so they were quoted on a CRM that they were supposed to be being built out in a completely new software that they were going to look into developing out. And when I came in, I was just like, hey, like, why do you want to go to the other CRM? And found exactly the reasons why they were actually paying $150,000 for a CRM, and then explained to them and showed them how they could actually use a CRM that they had right now and really just implement some infrastructure, be able to create some new automations, and then clean up the process that they currently had, and they could have that same exact implementation that they're looking for without having to go and actually transition to a new CRM and have to pay $150K.
There we go. And we see here that they lost $3 million in lost revenue per year. I know we mentioned that briefly before. Tell me a bit about that. How did you do the numbers for that? What was the process?
Yeah, so the average deal size was about $10,000 for their lowest package. And they were losing about anywhere from 100 to 120 leads a day. And I calculated it based on if they were to close 1% of those leads, what would that come out to? And it was about $3 million a year, very conservatively. I never like to shoot for big numbers, But if they were only to really convert about 1% of the leads, that would come out to about $3 million a year.
And they decreased the flow of leads coming in to try and level out the profitability. Do you want to explain why they did that?
Yeah, so basically they only had DM setters at the time, and in their thought process was that they were giving too many leads to their DM setters to actually have good enough conversations and qualified conversations to then book out the closers. So in their thought process was decreasing flow could potentially actually increase the profitability because it's giving their DM setters less work to do, which in actuality, it was not working because it wasn't the fact that the DM setters needed less work to do, but the conversations were taking too long and they needed a different system and process to actually get the results that they were looking for.
And as we see, an old business owner had to step into the business and try and save the entire operation.
Yeah, so Eric, which you saw in the video up above, he was actually working in one of their businesses that they had to shut down because this business was their front end business and it was basically going out of business at that point in time, which would shut down all of their other axillary businesses to that business. And so they decided to shut down one portion of it and have him step back into the business to try and get it off the ground and get it back to where it was going so that all of their businesses in their portfolio could be profitable.
And they also had to have a complete lifestyle change because of them going from $500,000 a month to now dropping all the way to $80,000 a month. That lavish lifestyle that they could afford with that type of money was no longer possible because they didn't have enough funds to whatever they was doing. If they was going on yachts or doing this or doing that, they couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, Tim. And so with the lifestyle change, they actually were talking about how the previous year they were able to spend almost 200 days abroad, out of town, whether they were traveling the world, doing whatever they wanted to. And within that year that they had to come back in to help fix the business, they were at home working on the business. They were not traveling. I think they cut their travel time down to maybe like 3 or 4 trips that year compared to the previous year, which they were basically gone the entire year.
Well, that acquisition process before we stepped in, I must say, it was just a bit of a mess. Jared, if you want to just go over this and explain the entire process real quick.
Yeah, so basically they're running DM ads and it was 2-step post. So hey, comment if you're interested, and then it went to a DM setter. And with the DM setter, they were basically 2 VAs that were working. And they were great. They understood the conversation. But when you're looking at, you're bringing in, 200-300 leads a day between 2 people, you're trying to have 150 conversations at one time. Yep. So it was taking 1 to 3 weeks to actually be able to book a call. And once they were on with a closer, if it wasn't a 1-call close to close a deal, then it would go into follow-up. Now, with their current process that they were using, the follow-ups were going untracked. It was super messy inside the pipeline, so they didn't even see when someone was responding. So they either got lost in the CRM or take anywhere from like 1 to 4 months within follow-up to actually bring a lead back around, which is ultimately equal to a very unpredictable sales cycle, which is very hard to scale a business with that long of a sales cycle and not even knowing when that lead is going to come in.
And the problem with everything Jared just explained is that they weren't able to scale and they had to shut down their done-for-you service simply because they didn't have enough revenue to fulfill that done-for-you service. And Jared, tell me a bit about what that done-for-you service was about and how they came about saying, okay, we don't have enough revenue to fill this. And what was that entire process of shutting down the done-for-you service and what impact did it have on their business?
Yeah, so their done-for-you service was like a partnership method where they would come in and help you partner together to launch an Amazon brand. And the biggest part of that is when you have the front end of your business, which it was like low ticket, even though it was $10,000, like $10,000 to $25,000, it was still low ticket compared to that complete done for you partnership method, which they were taking part of your business and it was, very high ticket, but they didn't have enough revenue in the front end of their business and enough clientele coming in to actually take care of the rest of their portfolio as well. So what they did was they shut down one of the parts of their business and weren't taking any new clients. That way they could actually focus on the front end and essentially rebuild the front end, which I played a huge part in, to then be able to get their revenue back up so that they could actually pay for all of the businesses inside of their portfolio and helping other people scale their Amazon business.
And now here's how we solved everything by integrating an AI infrastructure. And Jared, I actually want you to go through this and explain all of these nice green boxes we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a part of the first step of the service that we do, I always like to go and be able to generate money from leads that they've already paid for. So they had anywhere from about 80 to 100,000 leads at that point in time, where we were able to go in and then start booking new calls from all the old leads And frankly, a lot of them, like I had mentioned earlier, went completely untouched. So they never had any touch points. And so that was my first plan of, hey, let's go make money before we go spend any money. And then from that point, as we were setting that up, we were also setting up an AI agent to actually handle all the new leads untouched. So that way we could plug the hole and not continue to add to the problem, which then were giving us about 80 to 100 new bookings every single month, which then was allowed us to actually start to be able to build the team back up and be able to bring that revenue back in. Now, from that whole process, within the AI actually sits dormant on the lead after the booking call. And so what was happening was, like, if it went to follow up and they responded back even a day or two later, the sales team actually didn't have to go back and try and find a lead. They didn't have to go and communicate. The AI would actually take care of all of that communication and then book a call back on their calendar. And so the cool part about that was, even with the messy CRM and the systems, the AI actually helped fix all of that. And now the closers had to do one thing that they're best at, which ultimately just they had to focus on closing. And then the cool part is with they did a lot of webinars after I was able to come in. And with that process, after a webinar came in, it's really all about speed to lead. If you let leads sit there after a webinar, they start to cool down. And so we put all those leads that came in into the AI bot, and it was able to now start getting them booked. It was even able to start downselling some of these leads after it qualified them, to then downsell them into their low ticket product. We also ended up building out a setter team for them as well, because we had so many leads where we were able to go in and actually build out a 3 to 5 man set team where they were able to go through and book anywhere about 30 to 40 appointments every single week as well. And the biggest part with building out a set team is you need to build out an onboarding, you need to build out training, you need to have a proper system to actually help produce what they need to be able to make on a monthly basis, but also be able to make sure that they're producing good leads for the closers. And the biggest part about that, it actually allowed us to help optimize the DM setters, because the AI was actually able to handle a lot of their flow. So then we could actually see where the overflow was, and then actually put a human being in there to start plugging some of the holes that maybe the AI couldn't get to until now. One of the big reasons why we developed the AI caller out was so that way we didn't have to develop out the onboarding core. So being able to actually train and manage a new setter team. Oftentimes, if you need like a 3 to 5 person team, you actually end up having to hire about 15 to 20 setters to see which people stay, which people are good. How do you work well? But with now what we're using is with an AI caller, we can just implement that within 10 to 14 days. It's completely hands-free and automated, where it can go through and call anywhere from 10 to even 50,000 leads a day if you needed it to, just depending on how many leads you have, or it can do as little as 10 leads if that's all the lead flow that you have. And even the coolest part about this is that we were able to take the FBA startup from $80K a month to $500K a month, and they didn't even have to increase any ad spend, because we were just plugging a hole and then taking all their old leads that they haven't developed into deals yet, and was able to create revenue. So they just had to keep their marketing team on the same pathway, while we implemented the AI infrastructure to actually build out a proper sales team to be able to help develop the company that they already actually had the lead flow for. They just weren't profiting off of it. And so basically how we did that was with the acquisition process that we ended up setting up as soon as we came in. And so from the DM ads, it went to the DM setter, but ultimately the lead came into the CRM now for the AI infrastructure. And with the conversation, it went from, the DM setter taking anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, where now we're having an active conversation with 1 to 5 hours, being able to come in and actually start booking calls. And then with the follow-up, we're able to do a 24/7 follow-up. Anytime that someone is communicating with us, we can communicate back with them. And we also have a 7-day follow-up sequence where if someone's not responding, we'll go through and respond to that person. And the cool part is the AI will actually read the conversation. So the follow-up will actually be in sequence with what the conversation was already having. So it's very unique and very beneficial, because if the farther down you get to the conversation, the more unique the follow-up needs to be. And then at that point in time, when we were able to send it to the closer, a lot more leads were coming through, a lot more booked calls, and they were actually able to close warmer leads faster, because the sales cycle was so much shorter in the beginning, and they were already warm from the initial network and touch point from the DM ad. Now, if it did go into follow-up, like I mentioned earlier, it was dormant in the back end. And so anytime someone did respond to the AI was actually able to jump in and be able to have these conversations with these leads and be able to bring them back around, answer any concerns that they might have had, and then be able to get them back on booked calls with real life sales reps that are able to close them and bring them into the community. And so what we saw was it ended up being able to bring in a 1 to 4 day sales cycle that was very consistent, and they no longer had to guess about where their deals were coming from, but now it was a very predictable system so they could actually start to scale. So if you're a growth operator and you're looking to be able to bring up your top line revenue to be able to take more profits for yourself, and you want to implement this into some of the businesses that you have, feel free to reach out, because we can do this over and over and over again with the AI infrastructure that we built out exactly for your business. And hey, if you're a coach, consultant, or sell any type of info product and you're sitting there trying to figure out how do I scale my business, it might have been doing great at one point in time, but it's not there anymore. Or maybe you're trying to get up to that, $100,000, $200,000, even $500,000 months, and you feel like AI is the pathway for you, feel free to reach out to us and I'll show you how easy it is to implement into your business and have the proper SOPs to be able to help take your business from where it's at now to where you really want it to get going.
We're going to have a link in the description and the comments for you guys if you're interested. So, feel free to book a call, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.